Saturday Hodgepodge is back. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to Saturday Hodgepodge. You know, when I stopped doing my regular weekly Saturday Hodgepodge, I kind of said I'd do one whenever I felt like it, and I kind of felt like it this week, so I thought I'd go back to Saturday Hodgepodge format and talk about a few things and some books that I've been reading and things that have come up. So books first. So I've read 3 books, I think, since the beginning of the month, and I've started some others. So I'm only going to talk about those 3, and one of them I've already posted a review about, and that was Cuddy. Cuddy is a work of historical fiction by Benjamin Myers, which follows kind of the evolution, perhaps, of Northern England, focused on St. Cuthbert, who many people apparently see as kind of the saint of Northern England and the bringer of Christianity. And it's told in four and a half parts, kind of surrounding St. Cuthbert, his life, his death, the creation of a cathedral and a shrine for him, and the lives of the people who live in the vicinity of that cathedral. I just thought it was beautiful. I thought it was really well done. I'll leave a link to the review at the end if you want to see a more full review, but I read that and I really liked it. I also finished Hard by a Great Forest by Leo Vardiashvili, I believe is how you say his name. I picked this book up because Jim over at Jim's Books Reading Stuff is doing a Georgian read-along, and he mentioned this book, and I'd heard about it somewhere, and so I was able to get a copy from the library, and I read it. So thanks to Jim for making me aware of reminding me of this book, because it was a really rich, enjoyable reading experience. So Hard by a Great Forest is essentially a story of 3 Georgian refugees, a man and his 2 sons, who escaped from Tbilisi in Georgia and moved to London in the midst of the Civil War, which took place, I want to say, about 2 decades ago. They escape, but the mother has to stay behind, primarily because she doesn't have a passport. And then that separation goes on for much longer than they thought. And one by one, the male members of the family go back to Georgia, go back to Tbilisi to try to find their missing family members, until the youngest ends up being the last one to go and try to do this. And the story is incredibly rich and incredibly interesting for all kinds of reasons. Number one, it's kind of set up like a scavenger hunt, where our main character has to follow a series of clues left kind of by his dad and his older brother, who preceded him, to try to find out. Essentially, he's looking for where his family is. He's looking for them with the idea of rescuing them. He's set upon by all kinds of obstacles, a corrupt police force, military borders, animals that are escaped from the zoo, voices from his past, or perhaps ghosts that inhabit his head and lead him in different directions. And that part is just really entertaining. I thought really propulsive. It's really well done. I thought there were a few moments where that kind of drug a little bit, but it was really great. It's also really great because, never having been to Georgia, and my only really experience of Georgia being from Jim's videos, I thought it was a really immersive way of getting into recent Georgian history and Georgian culture and things like that. And in that reason, in that way, it was just an incredibly interesting book. It is not always an easy read. There is violence. There is a great deal of sadness. There is an unclear resolution, perhaps, maybe not. But I just thought it was a really good and interesting book. So thanks to Jim. Please go check out Jim's channel. I believe he posted a video recently about his Georgia Readathon. And the third book I've read is To Have and Have Not by Ernest Hemingway. This is a part of my Reading Bad Hemingway project, which no one understands. Why would I want to read bad books by Ernest Hemingway? I don't know that I understand well enough to let you know. I guess I just want to check to make sure that they're really bad, seeing that most of these books are books that I've only read once. And to see what about them was bad, just kind of re-examine and reintroduce myself to the works of Hemingway. Anyway, the first book I read was To Have and Have Not, and Jack from Rambling the Raconteur and I kind of buddy read this, and we're still discussing it back and forth. But what I would say about To Have and Have Not is that it is bad. It is not a good novel. That doesn't mean that there isn't good Hemingway writing. It doesn't mean that there aren't interesting characters who I think could carry a much better novel. The main character, Harry Morgan, I think certainly has done a disservice here. Another thing that struck me is that The book kind of reminded me a little bit of Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald in its second section. It is also an incredibly violent book, far more than I thought. It's an incredibly racist book. I don't think there's any single group of human beings who could go unoffended, other than white men, by the contents of this book and the stories that are told. So, you know, it is truly bad Hemingway, and I may do a full review of it a little bit, maybe sometime next week. Anyway, so there's my reading. A lot of things have been going on in the world. Obviously, I posted a video about the trials of Donald Trump, which, you know, where I expressed my feelings about what's really going on there. The thing that probably prompted me to make the Saturday Hodgepodge video more than anything else was the recent unveiling of the speech by Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker that he made at the St. Benedictine College commencement in Kansas, in which he essentially expresses truly Christian nationalist ideas and truly misogynist ideas. The thing that's getting the most airplay is him basically telling young women they've been lied to by people who told them that having a career and advancement and, you know, those kind of things would fulfill them, when really the only real thing that will fulfill them is being a wife and a mother. Which I found interesting, you know, this idea that he would express that, and I wondered why he only addressed that to young women. I don't really wonder why. I know why. Because, you know, shouldn't it also, if that's true for women, shouldn't that also be true for men? Shouldn't it be the highest achievement of men than to have kids and to raise kids and to be a husband? Shouldn't that also be the other side of that? And I think his misogyny there is clear in that he only addressed that to women. If you know, kids are really the pinnacle of existence, and they should be the pinnacle of human existence for both genders, not just for women. The other thing that occurred to me, and I believe somewhere in the speech he attacked DEI. DEI is the new conservative buzzword for what's ruining the United States of America. And those letters stand for diversity, equality, or equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what they're for. And really, DEI training was really a kind of a harmless way to try to get, traditionally, white institutions to be more open to a more diverse student body, perhaps, or more diverse employees, and all those kind of things. And it's been turned to this kind of evil thing since affirmative action was destroyed by the Supreme Court. It's been turned to the new kind of affirmative action. And what interests me is that Christian nationalists here in the United States of America seem to have picked up that DEI is somehow evil and ruining American society. This is interesting because for most Americans, they would not be Christians if Christianity didn't embrace DEI. Christianity, way back in the time of Paul and Peter, when they were going around the Mediterranean being apostles, they had to expand and open up Christianity to all people, to the Gentiles. Originally, in Jesus' ministry, he was only ministering to the Jews. So Christianity is the ultimate example of, you know, a DEI religion, and without its acceptance of a diverse population, of equity and equality within its Christian population, and with including as many different groups of people as possible, then Christianity wouldn't be the world's largest religion today. So, you know, I find the Christian nationalist attack on DEI to be really interesting. The other thing I wanted to mention is just a real quick aside. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Haven't listened to any of the new songs on her album, but I know that the title of her new album, which is the Department of Tortured Poets or something like that, has caused some ripples in the bookish world because people, you know, are basically saying, how can Taylor Swift, who's a billionaire, call herself a tortured poet? Well, hey, I'll just point out, I don't think wealth means that you can't be tortured by your thoughts, which is really, I think, what a tortured poet means. But it's my impression that she's not calling herself a tortured poet. She's calling, in this album, her ex-boyfriends the tortured poets. So she's not taking up a position in which she's pretending to be a tortured poet. She's actually lampooning men from her past who she felt like acted like tortured poets. Just something to keep in mind. And then the last thing I want to talk about is just, you know, one way that I found to avoid booktube burnout. You know, a lot of people who are on booktube and are on YouTube will tell you that YouTube booktube burnout is a real thing. And this week I found something which really helped with my booktube burnout. which I kind of was starting to feel, and sometimes I feel around this time of the year anyway. And that is just to make a video that you make completely because you think it's fun, because you want to make it. And that video for me was a Write With Me video, which I posted on Thursday of this week. And I had so much fun making and editing that and setting the music to it and creating the I Spy about the items on my desktop and just kind of, you know, relaxing and showing myself actually writing for 25 minutes. It was actually a 50-minute video. I sped it up to 2 times speed. And that's all it was. I don't even talk in the whole video. It's all just, you know, words on the screen and the music and the image of me sitting right here and typing. I don't know why I thought that was so much fun to make, but I did. And I enjoyed it so much that it kind of probably inspired me to make another Saturday Hodgepodge because it got me out of a kind of YouTube burnout. Anyway, there you go. There's Saturday Hodgepodge for this week. Look forward to your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.